sincerely, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue of Southeast Asia TV. Tonight we're going to be discussing on a theme which is related to the development of the human resources in the area of trade. And we have the pleasure today to welcome Mr. Sisowath Pheanuroth, who is the Chief Technical Advisor of the International Trade Center, which is a technical agency of the World Trade Organization, and the UNCTAD, which is the United Conference on Trade and Development, which is an agency in all based in Geneva. Welcome, Pheanuroth.
Good evening, Siphana.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me here.
Good. Well, before we start the discussion, perhaps I give you a few minutes to introduce yourself a little bit to the audience so they know who you are and basically your background.
Yes, I grew up in France.
Yes.
Since the 60s, and I got my engineer level IT over there. I worked there as the CEO of a company, EIT company in France, and I came back here and served for a couple of years within the Ministry of Rural Development, and after that I joined the ITC.
Yes.
When you were there.
Yes.
And now I have assignment in Cambodia as a Chief Technical Advisor representing ITC for the overall cooperation between the government of Cambodia and ITC.
Yes. Well, for those who are not familiar with the International Trade Center, a few months ago we have a speaker from there, but the ITC is an agency where I had the pleasure to work for 3.5 years in Geneva from 2005 to 2009. It is a joint agency on one side of the World Trade Organization, WTO, and the other side, which is a UN organization, which is UNCTAD. That's the only technical agency that have two parents, WTO and the UN. Basically, what ITC does, at least from my perspective when I was in Geneva, is to assist country to develop its trade strategy, to build the capacity to export, and they focus primarily in least developed country and developing country. But today I want to discuss more with you, Pheanuroth, on what are the activity that ITC is doing in Cambodia, and perhaps you can say a bit about the last several years that you have been representing ITC in Cambodia.
Well, you're right. The fact that we are working on the trade, we are not doing trade,
Yes.
but we are here to help the LDCs to export, to make trading. Trade, it means you exchange something,
Yes.
but you have also to produce before making a trade.
Yes.
So it is a whole value chain from the
Okay.
production to the, and coming back to our cooperation with the Royal Government of Cambodia, we are committing, especially with the Ministry of Commerce
Yes.
of Cambodia,
Yes.
and we have developed some programs, but not only with the Ministry of Commerce, also
Yes.
with the Ministry of Women Affairs.
Yes.
Yeah, but always on the trade sector.
Yes.
We have some program to develop the cooperation in intra-regional.
Yes.
In here between Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia.
Okay.
And after that, we have also the inter-regional program
Okay.
between the VLC
Yes.
in here and the
VLC, you mean Cambodia, Vietnam,
Vietnam,
Laos, yes.
Laos, yes.
The Mekong country.
The Mekong country, yes.
The lower
absolutely.
Mekong country.
Yeah.
With Africa, you were saying?
With
Yes.
Africa, with
West Africa.
West and East Africa
Yes,
also.
okay.
Yeah.
The French-speaking.
The French-speaking
Francophone.
Francophone, yes.
Interesting.
It is a program of OEF.
Yes, yes.
Yes. In Cambodia, we develop, especially we develop a special project for how to strengthen the silk sector in Cambodia,
Okay.
the whole sector.
Yes, yes.
Yes, because we think it is one of the good economic sector that involve thousands and thousands of people and families in the field and also in the...
In what province are you working primarily on silk?
On silk, we are working actually on the southern part of Cambodia.
Yes.
Takeo
Takeo.
province, Kandal, Preveng,
Okay.
and
Something on
Kampong
Kampong
Cham
Cham, yes,
too.
Kampong Cham,
And
yeah.
Kampong
Ah,
Cham,
very
yes,
interesting,
the
yes,
famous Prechangran.
Brejigan, yes, yes. And there, what sort of capacity building you doing to help the weaving industry?
Yeah, it's very important, especially when we are in the middle of the crisis, global crisis. So we have to be more creative than usual. For example, because of the crisis, because of the raising of some input, the price of the silk yarn
Yes.
is increasing.
Ah, okay.
Dramatically, and that make our weavers afraid, and some of them leave the
Is that right? Because the price of the yarn is so expensive that
Yeah.
they don't think that they can make money
they don't
after
make
they make the final product. Is
yes,
that what right?
they don't make enough
Money.
margin.
Yeah,
yes,
margin, okay.
to earn the
Yes.
life. That's why we continue to inject some new training,
Yes.
a new skills, special skill, how to do silk final product better
Okay.
for export.
Then you can raise the price, of course. Yeah,
Absolutely,
okay.
absolutely.
Aside from silk, what you working on? Other product that rice? Are you involved? In that?
We are involved also in rice. We 2 years ago we have within the OEF
Yes,
program,
the francophonie.
the francophonie
Yeah.
program. Yes, we lead the special mission with the Cambodian rice miller.
Okay.
And to Senegal, to
Yes.
Africa, to see in the framework of this exchange, South-South exchange.
Okay.
Yeah, and also we brought those people to Vietnam also.
Okay.
And some business matching
Yes,
with
yes.
the African people and Asian people.
Are you also involved in with the government of France, Agence Française de Développement, in the area of trade financing? I understand you're working on that.
Yes, we are cooperating. We are making some study with, for them because Agence Française de Développement wish to strengthen some rice millers in Cambodia. As you may know, actually the rice millers, Cambodian rice millers, are still at the family. Most of them are the family business.
Yes, yes.
So Agence Française de Développement wish to raise this family level to the real industrial and
commercial
real
level.
Commercial level. Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting. 2 weeks ago I was in Geneva. And there's a global review of the Aid for Trade, which is a initiative that was launched by the WTO in 2005, where the idea is how do we help developing country, least developed country, to build its capacity so that it can produce and trade, so that they can benefit, in other words, from trade globalization, right? The worry is that the current trade negotiation is reaching a very difficult point now, right?
Yes.
In the sense that the world economy is not doing well, right? In the sense that the U.S. have some problem with the debt. The continent of Europe have problem with Greece, with Spain. So issues are there, right? And how do they find way to get the least developed country to get more support? In this case, it could be from bilateral, it could be from multilateral, like the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, to help build the capacity, and also mobilizing UN agency like UNIDO, like ITC, and other FAO, for example, to work with that. So this is quite interesting because in the context of Cambodia, you know, in order to trade, you have to produce.
Absolutely.
And you cannot just produce anything. You have to produce something that the market wants.
Yes, sure.
And you have to produce not only what the market wants, at the quality and the standard that the market wants.
That is the point we are actually focusing on.
Yes.
We try to, for the sale sector,
Yes.
for example, we try to educate our
Yes.
weavers, in our beneficiary
Yeah.
in the field, that quality and timely delivery is very important.
Yes.
Is very important. So that's why we try, because in this global crisis situation,
Yeah.
only the quality
Yeah.
can deal with that.
Yes. You know what I see as a little bit worrisome also is that because of the economic crisis now, many countries, of course, they don't want to be seen as going backwards, right? You know, from their liberalization policy, but they still are looking for a way to protect their economy. And you see some countries are trying to come up with protectionist measure. But the interesting thing is that if you look just like that, you don't think it is protectionist. But then the more you look into it, you say, wait a minute, you know, these are protectionist measures. And I take, for example, there's something that we, the Cambodians, have to be very, very, very careful, is the issue of phytosanitary, right? SPS issue,
SPS,
and TBT,
yes.
right?
Sure.
Which is in the common WTO language is a very fancy word for sanitary, phytosanitary. TBT is technical barrier to trade. But in plain language, it means that it's about standard, it's
Absolutely.
about quality, it's about norm. And I take, for example, right, if you talk about silk, certain dye, the coloring, right,
Yes.
are already banned in Europe. So if your weaver is using the wrong dye, you cannot export to Europe. So that's one of the things.
You're right.
Are you tackling that issue?
Yes, because since the beginning, we knew that to export the Cambodian product into Europe, we have to comply to some rules and about dyeing stuff. We have to use natural dye stuff, or the German chemical dye stuff. And we train the people in the field to do that. Otherwise, we cannot export to European countries because of some rules. You know, you're right about some barriers. We call it the non-trade barriers, because there are a lot of small things, but that stop you at the frontier, at the border, stop your product. So we have just to be. What I recommend to Cambodian exporters, to Cambodian people in general who want to export to Europe or to the US, it's not so difficult, but just to understand, somebody in here, and we are among the people can tell to Cambodian people how to comply to the rule. Just that's it.
It's a learning process then.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
what I'm saying is that I went to Pechagan a few months ago to see exactly your program doing and how you are helping the weaver when they do the dye, the packaging, to make sure that they put the right amount, you know, that sort of thing. So it's not something that we cannot do. It's just something that we have to make effort to learn.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I think for me it's not just the market in Europe and US, whatever. You know, the problem in the US, I mean, they're in serious debt crisis. So I don't think the American consumer would want to buy more fancy shirt or jean, right? I think we have to look more into the region, right? The region, Asia, ASEAN, East Asia is closer to home. In the context of that market, right, in regional market, you look, for example, next year Cambodia will have the honor to chair the ASEAN, for example. There are so many different ASEAN plus China free trade, India, Australia, Japan, whatever, right? The point is that how can the Cambodian produce product that can export to this country. And that's why I see the role of ITC quite a bit in helping developing, sort of like a strategy also to break into that. But foremost to understand what are the various barriers to trade with China, to trade with India, to trade with Australia, to trade with Japan. What are the barriers? Because sometimes we think, we find a market, to find out that we cannot export because there's a barrier that we don't understand. Right?
You're right. And the big, the big barrier is that documentation.
Yes.
And that we have to understand. And the Cambodian, I encourage also the Cambodian government to ease those documentation for Cambodian exporters.
Trade facilitation.
Yeah, trade facilitation. And just one sample. Last time when the Ministry of Commerce issued a new stamp and
the seal,
the seal,
the
seal, and they didn't have enough time to inform worldwide.
Yeah.
So when one of the Cambodian rice exporter tried to export rice into Russia with the new seal. And Russian people had rejected the seal because
the custom
rejected
because
it's the new seal. It's not the normal seal for them.
Yeah.
And then we have to help and to inform.
And it costs time and money.
Yeah, cost time and money.
You are speaking about rice. We are now in the middle of a strategic review of the rice policy that the Prime Minister have launched last year. And to me, one of the challenge, and I have many speakers who coming to the show, sharing their perspective from private sector view, from donor perspective view, from technical perspective view. The issue in rice export is very much similar to what you just said.
Yes.
How can we streamline the procedure so that our trade is flow easier, less expensive, that we can compete with the neighbor Thailand and Vietnam?
Yes, absolutely.
Now Thailand, they just finished their election. They're going to have a new government. And already their government are seriously, they're already supporting their rice exporter. They're organizing. So we are up against very tough competition. So to me, trade facilitation is very important. Another thing that I was in Bangkok, for a ESCAP conference, and it's a technical working group on e-trade. This is something also that I want to see, ITC and many other UN agencies to help Cambodia also, because we are in a world of e-commerce now.
Absolutely.
And trade facilitation relate a lot to custom automation procedure that can be done electronically, because every day that we save in terms of paper processing is money that the poor exporter can save, and whatever the money can save, hopefully he can pass on to the farmer.
Yeah, the reason why we with the Ministry of Commerce we this year from now to the near future, we will try through the EIF program.
Yes.
To
the Enhanced Integrated Framework.
Framework, Tier 2.
Yeah.
Because ITC, we are inside, among the Secretariat also of the EIF, we will try to set up some global program. Not only the small project, but a global program with the Ministry of Commerce.
Yes.
And whoever will implement the project, but we will try to set up a global program. To help Cambodia to go forward.
Yes, I think it's important because maybe for historical purpose, I cannot help but to say that way back in 2000, when I was with the Ministry of Commerce at that time, the WTO have come up with this program, this integrate framework for trade-related technical assistance for the least developed country. Basically, it's a program to say how can we mainstream trade policy into the national development policy. And Cambodia was one of these 3 pilot countries that was selected. Cambodia, Madagascar, and Mauritania. And basically Cambodia was the only country that succeed. And how we succeed is because we're able to mainstream trade policy into national development policy. And now we're moving, you know, into something more forceful, which is the trade sector-wide approach.
Absolutely.
And I understand that the EU, the World Bank is really putting a lot of money to help build the capacity of, in terms of policy, trade policy, in terms of capacity development, trade, in terms of sectoral support also.
Absolutely.
You know? So I'm quite excited about that. Huh? I'm quite excited about it. And I hope ITC can really...
really interesting. Talking about the trade swap, TDSP, the Trade Development Program, and where we have a lot of money, but this budget is allocated, devoted to the Pillar 1, that is, and Pillar 2, that is policy capacity building. And we think, and Ministry of Commerce also think that we will use EIF for the Pillar 2. It's more product.
Beautiful.
How to encourage, how to organize a production in Cambodia.
No, I mean, unfortunately, I have to bring our program to a close, but I want to say that, you know, in my different life, you know, being with the UN and then later on with the World Bank a bit, then with the government for 6 years, and then I moved to Geneva to work for the International Trade Center. Now I'm back to the country. I want to say one thing, that trade is not difficult. It's not complex. You know, you want to make it difficult, it's difficult. But sometimes you have to look at a very practical thing. What do we have to do to help the exporter, the producer to produce?
Absolutely.
What they need is access to information that they don't have in the country, right? And the information that is out there in a different country, in the EU, in the US, there is no way the poor Cambodian exporter know.
Yes,
and this is where I see the role of agency like ITC, where you're now representing them in Cambodia. The importance of access to this sort of information so that you can bring it down to Cambodia, make it very friendly, make it user-friendly, and how they can see, oh my God, if I want to export silk, I better not use that dye. Oh, if I want to export rice to China, I better make sure that my SPS certificate is compliant. Oh, if I want to export cashew nut to India, I want to make sure that the certificate aflatoxin is there, right? These are sort of things, to me, is not difficult, but you need link, you need bridge. And this is where I see the value of the International Trade Center, where I have served for 3.5 years for many countries around the world, right?
Yes.
That's the, nowadays, power is information.
You are absolutely right. And I think, just to complete your thinking, I think the most important thing is the understanding from every side.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially the understanding from the Cambodian royal government of Cambodia side, from the private sector side, and from the donor side also.
Yes.
That's why we, with the Ministry of Commerce, we are pushing for silk, for example, to strengthen the whole sector.
Yes.
Now we are talking about sectorial.
Yes.
How to strengthen the whole sector instead of the global things, you know, very vague and something like that. Silk, for example, we will strengthen, we will help
as
Cambodian people as a sector. Rice, you have already a good starting with the policy launched by.
But I want to see the silk sector to really move as a sectoral policy with clear, you know, objective there.
That's why we are pushing with the Ministry of Commerce to set up this silk board with the involvement from the private sector and the government and public sector to have equal voices and to talk together to solve the sector. And it will be the same for other sector, cashew nut, whatever, rice, etc. We are encouraging this way.
I'm glad. Pheanuroth, thank you so much for coming, you know, tonight to share, you know, not just ITC perspective, but also your personal view on the Cambodian development of our trade, of our sector, you know. And I think this is something that is important for Cambodia as we move to to the future to look for new source of growth. Clearly, agriculture sector product-wise is important for the creation of job. You know, we have to start looking what can the silk sector, what sort of job can create, how many hundreds of thousands it can help. In the rice sector,
Yes.
another how many million people can help. On the cashew, how many million it can help. So we have to look at this sort of thing, but we have to look in a very strategic way. And I'm glad that ITC is here to contribute to the Royal Government to support its development policy. So thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, as always, 30 minutes is very, very short. But at least you are aware a bit now what the government is doing with its counterpart, its development partner, in this case the International Trade Center in Geneva, what they're doing in terms of helping develop sectoral policy in specific product like silk or rice or cashew nut. And this is something that we hope that the audience could appreciate that. And if you need information, further you know, information from the International Trade Center, you have Mr. Sisowath Pheanuroth here who can be of assistance. Don't hesitate to call. And we also have an email now at the end of the program. Feel free to just write to us, and we'll try to pass on to those who can help you. So once again, thank you for watching our show, and I'll see you next week. Good night.